Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one, we are going to have a look at another collaboration beer. So this one is half Hong Konger on the home side, half Scottish on the away side, and both of the breweries involved in this one have featured on the channel quite a few times before. When it comes to the Hong Kong brewery, I would say that they are pretty solid all round. They do some really nice lagers and nice IPAs as well, but probably the most interesting beers from this brewery are their sour beers, and they've won many awards in that particular style category, so really do check those guys out in the sour side of things if you get the chance. When it comes to the away brewery, they are most definitely known for their different kinds of modern, fruity, juicy, smoothie, whatever we're going to call them, sour beers, and they're one of the real pioneers in their local beer scene with those kind of beers, I would say. But the beer that we're going to have a look at today is the latest collaboration between these two breweries. I think they've done a couple before. It is a style that I've had from both of them before as well, and one that I know they can do really nicely, and a style that I also very much enjoy. So definitely cool to see these guys collaborate together once again. So needless to say, I'm very, very curious to see what this beer has in store for us. Hopefully it's as good as I remember. Hopefully it makes for an interesting review, and as always, I hope that you guys watching enjoy my take on this one as well. So yeah, for this review then, we are going to head a little bit northwest of me here in Kowloon up to Kwai Chung, and that means that we're going to have a look at another beer from the wonderful Yardley Brothers Brewery. So this particular beer is called Tanghulu. It comes in at 12% ABV, and this one is a big fruity Imperial sour, I guess we have to say in this case. But this one is brewed in collaboration with the wonderful Vault City from Portobello near Edinburgh in Scotland, my motherland. And it's based on the Tanghulu candy, which is basically like candied hawthorn berries, if you like. So yeah, I actually tried this beer at its launch night, which was at Craftissimo over in Chung on Hong Kong Island. So yeah, I have tasted this one before. I know it's pretty damn nice, but I'm looking forward to doing a proper sit-down review of this beer for you here on the channel as well. But yeah, definitely cool to see Yardley Brothers and Vault City collaborate once again. Both produce some very interesting beers on their own, and I can tell you they have produced a pretty interesting one here. So yeah, 12.5% Imperial. It's kind of like an Imperial smoothie sour, this one, in all honesty. So let's crack on and see what this beer has in store for us once again. So, as always with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about both the breweries involved here before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting though, just fast forward. All the usual links can be found in the video description below. That's the brewery websites, the link to my other reviews that I've done, both from Yardley Brothers Brewery and from Vault City Brewing, and we will no doubt add more to both of those lists at some point in the near future. But there's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The support that you give is massively appreciated, and remember, you can go into the channel homepage and search for beer using the geography tagging system. So just go in there, use the little search bar, put in your hometown, state, county, province, whatever you like. If I've reviewed beers from the area that you search for, they will pop up. Failing that though, you can check out the playlist of beers from different countries. You'll find this one in the Hong Kong playlist and the Scottish playlist, since it is kind of dual nationality. And do make sure you check out the playlist of beers from other countries as well, because there are some very interesting things on the channel these days, even if I do say so myself. But yeah, let's go into my brewery notes then, and I'll tell you a wee bit about the breweries. Then we'll start off with Yardley Brothers Brewery, since they are the home brewery in this case. So yeah, the Yardley Brothers Craft Brewery was founded by Luke and Duncan Yardley, and the brothers are half Scottish and half English. Their dad is from very close to where I'm from in central Scotland. He's from Dunfermline. So Luke and I had a little bit of that connection before I started all these reviews and things. But yeah, Luke worked professionally as a parts wholesaler, and he ended up staying in Hong Kong after meeting a girl. That relationship didn't work out, and then he married another one later. That is of course Ting Ting, who you'll see quite actively involved in Yardley Brothers Brewery as well. But Luke and Duncan had homebrewed back at home in the UK, and then they took it up again when Duncan joined Luke in Hong Kong back in 2014, and their main motivation was that they couldn't find the beer that they wanted to drink themselves, so they thought, well, we'll make it. So their first brewery that they had was in a small shack on Lamma Island, but in December of 2016 they opened a production brewery on the 5th floor of an industrial building where the rent was much cheaper. And if you know anything about real estate in Hong Kong, you will know that the rent prices in Hong Kong are absolutely horrendous. But apparently when they moved in, the tanks wouldn't fit in the elevator, so 8 people had to take them and push them up the stairs. And they stayed in this brewery for a number of years, and it was at the Kwai Chung industrial area at the Wat Industrial Centre. You'll find that to the northwest of Kowloon. I think that is actually new territories at that point. But they've got their beer shack bar on Lamma Island these days. It's not the original beer shack, I hasten to add, but they've got a tap room in Central as well on Peel Street, which has been open for about 3 years. In the last few years they've been developing their barrel programme, which they started in 2018, and they moved into a new and larger brewery, still in Kwai Chung though, in 2023. And these days the company is run solely by Luke. Duncan wasn't involved for all that long from what I understand, and Luke's wife Ting Ting is doing a lot of things in there as well. But in 2025 they launched their seltzers. I think they're called Life and Death Water if I remember correctly, and as of May 2025 when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced 170 different kinds of beer of pretty much any style you can think of. Luke is very, very experimental. He's a big ingredients nerd like me, so yeah, he likes trying different stuff. But like I say, these guys have got some really nice IPAs, but I would say the most interesting beers that you're going to get from Yardley Brothers are the sour beers, the wild ales and stuff like this. Mango Sticky Mango is a personal favourite. In Flanders Fields, the red ale is very good. And when it comes to their more regular beers, I would say Voss Boss and Hong Kong Bastard are the ones you want to try. But yeah, that is everything I can really tell you about Yardley Brothers Brewery for the moment. If you want to learn more, you can check out the brewery website, you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram, and you can of course check out the Untappd page to learn more about all the different beers that they've done. But yeah, let's go on to the Scottish side of things then. So Vault City Brewing, as I've mentioned to you already, are from Edinburgh, and the company was founded back in 2018 by Johnny Horn, Adele Wilkie and Stephen Smith Hay. So Johnny worked at Hanging Bat, which is quite a nice little brew pub on Lothian Road in Edinburgh, and Stephen and Adele were regular customers, and they all just became friends over time. So Johnny was studying at the time. He was a PhD student in archaeology at Edinburgh University. He's originally from Wales though, and Stephen, but he was also, Johnny was also a keen home brewer, as was Stephen, and this was one of the kind of the basis of their friendship. But the two began planning a brewery together, and then Adele contributed a lot of ideas in the early stages, and so she joined them. But Johnny was a great fan of the Belgian lambics and sours, and this rubbed off on Adele and Stephen, and they felt that there was a gap in the Scottish beer scene, and so they decided this was the route they were going to take with their brewery. So initially they didn't think so much about making money, and they set up what they called a glorified home brewing kit as their main brewery in Stephen and Adele's kitchen, and they began brewing there weekly in July of 2018. But over the following year they began to visit different beer festivals and spreading the word about their beers, and they started brewing at 71 Brewing in Dundee to kind of upscale the volume, and they spent about 16 months there before they relocated to their own purpose-built brewery in Portobello, just to the east of Edinburgh. During the time in Dundee though, Johnny left the company to found his own brewery, Holy Goat, who I really do recommend you check out as well. I think the main creative difference that they had was that Stephen and Adele wanted to have like a base beer and play around with the base beer and go in one direction, whereas Johnny was more interested in doing lots and lots of different styles, and indeed that's the route he's taken with Holy Goat. So as I say, check them out as well. But these days they have their wee vault bar near Haymarket Station in Edinburgh, and they did open up another tap room in Portobello called Porty Vault, which was serving very good pizzas. I wish I'd gotten to to visit that one, but it apparently closed in late 2024. In early 2025, though, they announced that the brewery would move to a new site at Midlothian Science Park, and this will eventually allow them to produce around 10 million litres of beer per year. And they're currently crowdfunding the venture, and they expect it to open late this year in 2025. But as of May 2025, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced over 370 different types of beer, and the vast majority of their beers are these big, kind of modern, sweet sour beers. But you do get Imperial stouts and sour IPAs and stuff like that from these guys every so often as well. But yeah, that is everything I can really tell you about Vault City Brewing for the moment. If you want to learn more about these guys, you can check out the brewery website, you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn a wee bit more about all the different beers that these guys have done too. So yeah, the only other thing I should add to that actually is that the brewery takes its name from the Edinburgh Southside Vaults, and these were basically arches built into the Southside Bridge in Edinburgh. They were home to like taverns and workshops and things, so that's where you get the Vault City name from. But yeah, let's go on and actually have a little look at the beer itself. So as I mentioned to you at the start of the video, this one is a 12.5% fruited sour, if you like. The name Tanghulu is like the little Chinese candied berry sweets, if you like. So you can see those on the side of the bottle there. At the launch, they actually gave us one of those with the beer, which was quite interesting. But yeah, you can see the snake there is enjoying his Tanghulu as well, and then you can see the brewery symbols here. I think my one must have got a bit rubbed in the box or something, but yeah, you can see the Yardley brothers symbol on top of that. And then, yeah, you have the Vault City archway underneath that too. And it tells you a wee bit about the beer just on the back here. So let me just read that to you quickly. It says, Tanghulu, candied hawthorn sour. When our friends at Vault City told us they were coming to China, we were like kids in a candy store. Inspired by sweet shop sours and classic flavours, we came up with the sweet, crunchy childhood treat, Bing Tanghulu candied hawthorn from a street vendor in Hong Kong, Hangzhou, Beijing, or Chengdu. Treat your inner child to a defiantly adult beverage. I like that as well. This one's got lactobacillus in it, and lactose, of course, as well. But yeah, like I said, 12.5% sort of candied Imperial sour, this one, I guess you could say. Let's get it out into the glass then and see what it's all about. Plain bottle cap on this one, incidentally, plain black one. Let's do this. I'm really excited to try this one again. So here we go. A little bit of smoke on the opening, but yeah, let's get this guy out and into the glass. Ooh, look at that. Right, there we are. So, interesting. I'm liking that the head is forming so slowly. Just watch that. If you guys can see it on the camera there. There you go. So yeah, you can see it's a very thin foamy layer on the top, but you've got this lovely little quarter finger ring edge, which again, it's very, very foamy, and I'd say it's just a slightly kind of creamy colour, if you like, around the edge there. But yeah, very light fawn. But you can see the colour of this beer is pretty damn unusual. It almost looks a bit like vegetable soup or something like this, to be honest with you. So yeah, I think a vegetable soup colour is a good way to describe the colour of this beer. But yeah, remember, the colour of your beer depends on a few things. One, the type of malts that you use. This goes a long way to determining your EBC rating. Two, length of your wort boil is going to play a role, because the longer you boil the wort, the more the sugars caramelise, and thus you get a darker colour of beer. But any barrel aging that you do or adjuncts you put into the beer will affect its colour as well. And when it comes to the modern sour beers, that's the variable that you kind of have to think about, to be honest with you. The most of the colour in this beer will be coming from the candied hawthorn that's in there. And if you see a hawthorn berry, yeah, it is about this is about the same colour as that would be. But yeah, you can see the beer is pretty damn hazy. It's yeah, it's got a little bit of that sort of yeah, it's got a little bit of like natural haze to it and stuff. But I think that will be because of I think they've used a lot of wheat and oats and stuff in this one probably. But yeah, a lot of the haze in this beer will be because of that, and some of it will be from the fruit as well. There's not too much in the way of visible carbonation, just the odd bubble break in the surface and one or two sticking toward the side of the glass there. But yeah, it's quite an unusual looking beer, this one. I think we can say that, but I don't think we really need to say anything more about the aroma or the appearance of this one. We can go on and have a little look at the aroma. So let's do that. Aroma section time. Let's do it. Oh, right. I will say that with this one, it's I think in the bottle, I'm trying to remember if we had it on tap at the launch or if they just poured bottles for us. I think it was on tap, come to think of it. It smells a little bit sharper out the bottle than it did from the tap, I think. On the tap, when you got it, it was very smooth and very, very creamy, but they put the little candy over the top of the glass, of course, but it certainly smells a little bit sharper when you're out of the bottle. I think we can safely say that. So yeah, there is a wee bit of that kind of sharp, almost tartness in the aroma, but yeah, and especially as you sugar it up, you get more and more of that, and more of it comes out as your nose adjusts to the beer as well. Yeah, that's interesting. It's quite a, with these beers, quite often the aroma is very straightforward, and the flavour profile is pretty straightforward as well. But if these beers are done nicely, then you're on to a winner. We can safely say that. So underneath, that aroma is really leaning toward that sort of candied hawthorn there, and it's got the tartness in there as well. But there are other little elements under there, so let's have a wee look at that. So the backbone of the beer, you've got a little bit of like fresh white bready bread crust in there, that's for sure. There's a little hint of woodiness as well, which you very often get. I do get a wee bit of cracker. Quite a little bit of like fluffy, fresh white bread in this one. And I'm also getting a little bit of that kind of typical yogurty sort of character coming out of the beer. So yeah, usually when the wheat and the oats mix together, they sort of, and they interact with the yeast, they give you this kind of like, if you think about Muller-Connor yogurts, it gives you this kind of yogurty sort of note to the beer. So you can definitely smell some of that in this one. So there's a wee bit of that almost vanilla yogurty type character coming out of it, and you've also got the there's a little bit of sweetness in there, like a wee bit of Werther's Original butter candy, butterscotch to the beer as well. So yeah, the way this one goes together in that sense is really, really nice. Yeah, I like I do like the malty backbone that this beer has. Yeah, kind of typical of the sort of smoothie sour style actually. But yeah, I like that. But as I say, when you sugar up, you get more and more of the tartness out of this, which is nice. Yeah. So the yeasty side of things, at the back of the nose, if you like, I always get a bit of yeasty character further back. The yeasty side of this beer is quite, the yeasty side of this beer for me is really quite, it's kind of like, there's a mix of like white bread to it, little hints of cracker I would say, and maybe a slightly sweet brown bread as well. But yeah, the yeasty side of the nose for me at the back is, yeah, denser white bread, fluffier, yeah, denser sweet white bread, a little bit of fluffy bread in there as well, and also wee hints of cracker. So yeah, the way that goes together is really quite nice. I like the way that the malty and yeasty side of things go together in this beer, so that gets a big thumbs up from me as well. Yeah, don't know if there's much else we really need to say about the malty and yeasty side of it. It's kind of typical of a sort of, it's quite typical of a stronger smoothie sour. actually, I would say. So yeah, when it comes to sour beers like this, it's always interesting to ask the brewers about their hopping mentality, if you like. If you go back to the old school sour beers such as the Belgian Lambics and the Flanders Reds, what they used to do was they would add older hops into the beer that had lost a little bit of their alpha acid potency, and the idea was that they didn't want the bitterness of the hops to detract from the sourness of the beer. Now these days, when it comes to the smoothie sours and things like that, a lot of brewers will argue that adding fruit into beer as an adjunct is going to suppress the green component anyway, so why bother using hops? Other brewers will argue that it gives you a little bit of a depth of flavour, and I know that Luke, in some beers he will, in some of the sour beers he will use the hops, in others he won't, so it just kind of depends. Vault City, I think, tend to use hops in their beers rather than not, so yeah, it just kind of, it depends what the brewery wants to do. It's always interesting to ask a sour beer brewery what their hopping mentality is, so keep that in mind. But yeah, with this one, I will say it does feel like it's got a bit of green component to it, so I think there are hops in this beer. So there's a teeny little bit of earthiness in there for me, but again, very, very smooth. Little bit of floral aromaticity, and I do get a little bit of that zestier, pardon me, sort of grassy character out of this one too. So yeah, that's definitely in there, but you can smell the hawthorn berries just kind of pushing against that, and yeah, you can absolutely smell the hawthorn berries just pushing against that, and you know, keeping it, yeah, the hawthorn berries are just pushing against that and kind of suppressing it a little bit, as I said, as I was talking about a minute ago. But yeah, I don't know if there's anything else we really need to say about the green component side of the beer, but when it comes to the fruity side of it, yeah, it's like a very candied hawthorn sort of note all the way, and it's very distinctive aroma, if you like, but it's quite like, if you think about the sort of flavour that you get from the purple and the red Skittle combined, it's very much sort of like that. So you've got little elements of kind of candied strawberry, maybe candied raspberry. It's kind of like the juiciness of a strawberry with the sort of tartness of a raspberry. I think that's probably a fair description of what I'm getting out of here. Like a mix of like candied strawberry, candied raspberry, and it's got the tartness too. So yeah, the way that this beer goes together in that regard is really, really nice. But yeah, very distinctive aroma, I have to say that about it. So yeah, take a little bit of time to enjoy the aroma of your beer before you get stuck into it, as I always say when it comes to your beers, because that's always half the experience. But I think it's about time that we taste this one and see what it's all about again. So yeah, this one is the Tanghulu, a 10.5% Imperial smoothie sour, I guess we can say, with candied hawthorns in it, brewed at Yardley Brothers Brewery in Kwai, Chung here in Hong Kong, in collaboration with Vault City Brewing from Portobello near Edinburgh in my motherland of Scotland. Let's get stuck into this one. Slàinte, skål, cheers. Oh yeah, that is, again, very, very nice. Luke has a knack with these big, thick sour beers. I mean, probably my favourite sour beer that these guys do, I think on the old school side of things, it's absolutely in Flanders Fields. But then on the other side of things, it would be the mango sticky mango. So yeah, he's very good when it comes to this kind of style of beer. This one, it feels a little bit lighter and less kind of sweet than mango sticky mango, for example. Well, maybe not less sweet. I think it actually maybe is a bit sweeter than that. I mean, less kind of creamy and sweet in its malt base. But yeah, again, this is another really, really solid Imperial smoothie sour. I think stylistically, I would describe this one as being an Imperial smoothie sour. So I'm just going to say thumbs up to both breweries for this one. They've produced something that's really quite interesting. And one of the other things I like about Yardley Brothers Brewery is that they will do stuff that's distinctly Hong Kong. I mean, a few months ago, I forget how long it was now, we had the Wampy sour, and now we've got this one. So you know, that's something that's really cool. Luke always gives, you know, he always highlights Hong Kong ingredients. So yeah, that's another thing to keep an eye and keep in mind with Yardley Brothers Brewery. So yeah, and it does just feel a little bit lighter in the bottom than it did on tap as well, but you know, that can happen. But it's one of these beers where the flavour that you get out of it really is kind of in keeping with what you would expect from the aroma. So yeah, for me, well, let's break the beer down then and describe it for you. But yeah, it gives you this lovely smooth kind of creamy malt base, the sharper fruity notes and juicy fruity notes, and then just I think from the flavour there's not hops in this one, so maybe I was telling you lies earlier. But let's just go through the flavour then and break it down as we always do. So middle third of your palate then, the backbone of the beer. You've got a little bit of that fresh white bready bread crust in there. As you move further forward on that middle third of your palate, you get just a little touch of woodiness coming out of this one. So yeah, fresh white bready bread crust in there, a little touch of woodiness further forward, and then above that there's a slight kind of smattering of cracker in there, but I will point out that is very, very minimal. I think above that there's a slight layer of a kind of more sweet wholemeal brown bread from the barley malt, and then above that you get the white bready character from the barley malt once again. But then the next layer up is all about you've got a more dense character from the wheat and the oats in there, and that's that yogurty note that you very often get in these kind of smoothie sour type beers. So yeah, the wheat and the oats are mixing together to give you this kind of yogurty layer above that, I would say. Yeah, so lovely yogurty note to this one. And if you think of it, really reminds me of the Munch Bunch yogurts that my mum used to put in my lunchbox when I was a wee boy going to school. But yeah, if you think of like the Muller Corner type yogurts, that's what you're getting out of this one with the wheat and the oats. In the dead centre of your palate, above that kind of yogurty there, well, there's a wee bit of vanilla in there as well. I would add that to this one. There's a wee bit of the vanilla in there. But then yeah, on top of that, you have a little circle there in the middle of your palate, and it's a bit kind of Werther's Original butter candy butterscotch, maybe slightly fudgy as well. That's the alcohol coming out of the beer. This one is 12.5%, so it is a bit of a monster in that regard, but Luke has Vault City do as well. Both of these breweries have a tendency to give you very high alcohol beers that hide their alcohol very, very well. So just be aware of that in this one. And there's maybe a very slight biscuity kind of flavour coming out of this one. McVitie's digestive biscuits, I would say, into the aftertaste too. But in the middle of the palate, you definitely have that sort of Skittlesy, sugary kind of quality coming out of the beer as well. So just bear that in mind. But yeah, I think that covers the middle third of your palate then. Let's go to the back third of your palate. Remember that generally speaking, sweeter flavours come out further forward on the palate, more dry and bitter flavours come out further back, and the flavour profile between middle third of your palate and back third of your palate is going to be relatively similar. Just, they'll come out, the flavours will come out at different intensities. So yeah, border region between middle and back third of your palate, then you get that little bit of bready build up in there once again. The brown bread's in the base, the white bread is kind of in the middle, then you've got a more kind of yogurty, wheaty sort of note above that. But yeah, the base of the back third of your palate, the bread crust is just that little bit slightly drier. The Jacob's cream cracker is above that as well. You've got the brown bready notes in there, which are just a little bit lighter, taller, and more airy, I would say. Then above that, you've got the white bready. You've got the white bready layer in there, which is a little bit lighter, taller, and more airy. Then on top of all of that, you can feel the more dense, wheaty characters coming out of this one. The more dense, wheaty, white bready notes in there. So that is quite nice, the sort of drier side of the yogurt, if you like. Then you've got the yeast above everything else. So let's have a wee look at the yeasty side of the beer. Yeah. So the yeasty side of things with this beer, it's kind of pretty straightforward, if you like. Again, at its core, it has like, it's either like a really dense sweet white bread. No, yes, I'd go with that. It's a really dense sweet white bread, but then it's surrounded by that more yogurty sort of layer. So yeah, you've got the lovely kind of yogurty, how would we say, you've got these yogurty, like vanilla yogurty kind of notes there, and it's almost just a little bit sharp, and there's maybe just a wee tiny hint of bread crust on the very edge of it. So the yeasty side of this beer for me is quite interesting, I would say that. But definitely back third of your palate, you can feel the flavour is taller. Then as you move further forward into the middle third of your tongue, it just kind of condenses down and squashes together that little bit more. But yeah, let's go on to the kind of green component then, and the fruity side of the beer to round off. Having taken a few sips of this one now, I would say that I think it's quite likely that this one doesn't have hops in it, and I'm pretty sure Mango Sticky Mango didn't either, so makes sense. But that doesn't mean you don't get a little bit of the placebo effect of the green component in there. So yeah, in the back corners of the palate, you can feel there's a very slight earthiness to it. As you move further forward, it becomes more smooth and woody. Then there's a little bit of there's a little bit of a floral note to it as well. So yeah, there's a little bit of floral aromaticity there. Then yeah, around the front curve of the tongue, it's a wee bit lighter and more grassy, I would say. So yeah, you've got that nice little bit of floral and grassy character coming out of this one. But of course, the fruity side of the beer, the fruity side of the beer is just, you know, it suppresses everything in there. So the way that all of that goes together in this one, I think, is nice. The sort of placebo green component, if you like, and the kind of hawthorn berries just pushing back against it. It gives you that nice wee bit of freshness, but also that kind of sour tartness. But let's go to the front third of your palate then, and the fruity side of things. But so for me, the border region between front third and middle third of your palate, again, you get that little bit of bready build up there. You've got the brown bread in the base, the kind of white bread in the middle, then the more yogurty kind of character on top. Getting a good little bit of vanilla, almost like vanilla sponge cake type quality out of that as well. But the base of the front third of your palate is like, yeah, the fresh white bready bread crust in there. You've got the cracker above that, the brown bread, the white bread, and then the smoother yogurty character in there. Then the fruity side of this one kind of sits on top of that. So yeah, you've got a mix of, for me, it's above that, there's a kind of layer of like an oily candied strawberry type thing. So that's very, very nice. So yeah, there's a lovely little bit of kind of candied strawberry coming out of this one. So yeah, let's see, smooth. Yeah, there's a sort of smoother, how would you say, yeah, you've got a kind of smoother candied strawberry note in there. And it feels like in the middle of that, you've got a wee, in the very dead centre of that front third of your palate, it's like a sharper raspberry. But then, yeah, on top of that, you start to get the big juicy character of the actual hawthorn berries sitting above that, which is quite nice. And into the aftertaste, you do get that sort of skittly. If you put like one of each skittle on your tongue and sort of just suck them away, if you like, that's the sort of flavour that you're getting out of this one from the candied, yeah, from the sour side of the beer rather than specifically the hawthorn, if that makes sense. There's a very sort of skittly type flavour to this beer. But as I say, it's like juicy strawberry in the base, a bit of the sharper kind of almost candied raspberry sitting on top of that, then the juiciness of the hawthorn berries, and that lingers kind of into the aftertaste there with that sort of skittly sugar type flavour. But the impact flavour of the sour in this one, like I say, it just comes in behind the very front tip of the tongue, gives you that little bit of attack, then it mellows out really, really nicely. So yeah, the way that this one goes together, I think, is really, really nice, and it gets a big thumbs up from me. I really like what they've done with this particular beer. So yeah, in terms of sourness, it's really not going to blow the head off you. But let's just round off this review then with a wee bit of with a wee look at the mouthfeel. But I really like this actually. It's one that kind of grows on me the more that I drink of it, but a distinctly Chinese flavour in this one, I think we can say. So yeah, mouthfeel wise, I would say that this beer is kind of bottom end of full bodied for me. It's not the thickest one that I've had from Yardley Brothers from memory, and again, it's a bit thicker if you actually have it on draft, so that's worth keeping in mind. So yeah, the way that it goes together is really nice. It's a very smooth mouthfeel. It's a bit creamier on tap than it is here, but I think it's fair to say this one's kind of more silky and smooth in terms of its mouthfeel. IBU wise, I think it's going to be pretty much like 5 or 10 IBUs, something like that. Yeah, it's not going to blow the head off you in terms of bitterness. The malt base, like we said, has a bit of smoothness underneath, or a bit of dryness underneath, smoothness in the middle, and a lovely kind of creamy and sweet character on top, and it's kind of sugary and candied-like into the aftertaste. Very little bitterness from this one, but you do get a bit of that green component placebo effect, and the sour side of this one's just got a little bit of impact behind the front tip of the tongue when you take it in, but yeah, it's very sort of candied and sweet into the aftertaste, that's for sure. But yeah, another very, very interesting sort of smoothie sour type beer from Yardley Brothers Brewery, and definitely cool to see Vault City getting involved in this one as well. Very distinctly Chinese flavour this. But yeah, I think we can leave it at that for this one. This was the Tanghulu, named of course after the sort of street candy, the little ball things. This one was 12.5% Imperial smoothie sour, is the category I would put it in, from Yardley Brothers Brewery in Kwai, Chung, New Territories here in Hong Kong, in collaboration with Vault City Brewing from Portobello near Edinburgh in my motherland of Scotland. Once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know your favourite beers from both Yardley Brothers and from Vault City as well, and we will no doubt return to these guys again at some point in the very near future. But until the next time, Slàinte, Skål, cheers, check out my social media, check out the brewery's social media, and I'll see you later in another review. Ciao just now.